Here, as well as at Tintern Abbey, I obtained ivy roots for Mr. Hall, and hope to see them flourishing on the walls of his beautiful stone house in Rhode Island. We retired slowly from this romantic ruin, and at the hotel found an excellent dinner. One dish was fit for a king, sowen, young salmon, or a species of salmon, for there is much dispute among naturalists as to the identity of these fish. Anyhow, they are fine beyond any fish. They were about 2 1/4 pounds each, and are so delicate that they do not well bear transportation. We returned to Chepstow that evening, having a fine ride through a new piece of scenery, and were quite ready for a sound night's rest. In the morning we looked at the castle in Chepstow, which is remarkably fine, and is of extreme antiquity, some of the arches of the castle chapel indicating clearly a Saxon origin. One of the priestly legends is that this chapel was built by Longinus, a Jew, and father of the soldier who pierced the side of Christ. This was the belief of the ancient population of this charming region. All around this town Roman coins are frequently turned up, and I obtained from a gentleman a very well preserved Caesar silver coin, dug up a day or two before. The castle was for more than 20 years the prison home of Henry Martin, one of the regicides. He is buried in the parish church, and in the north transept is the following acrostical epitaph which he composed for his monument. Here, September 9th, 1680, was buried a true-born Englishman, who in Berkshire was well known to love his country's freedom 'bove his own, but being immured full 20 year, had time to write as doth appear. His epitaph: Here or elsewhere, all's one to you, to me, earth, air, or water, gripes my ghostly dust. None know how soon to be by fire set free. Reader, if you old tried rule will trust, you will gladly do and suffer what you must. My time was spent in serving you, and death's my pay, it seems, and welcome too. Revenge destroying but itself, while I to birds of prey leave my old cage and fly. Examples preach to the eye care then, mine says, not how you end, but how you spend your days. Colonel Henry Martin was one of the noble assertors of English liberty who dared to oppose a weak but cruel and capricious tyrant. If ever a monarch was a tyrant and a despot, it was the first Charles. No American citizen who thinks that Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, John Hancock, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and George Washington were praiseworthy for the resistance which they offered to the aggressions of George III, can for one moment fail to reverence Eliot, Hampden, Martin, Whalley, Ludlow, Pym, and Cromwell for their noble opposition to Charles and his tormentor general, that incarnation of sanctimonious cruelty, Archbishop Laud. It is one of the signs that a good time is coming that public opinion in England, as well as in America, is fast setting in favor of Cromwell and his noble coadjutors. They opposed measures rather than men, and what proves that they were right in expelling the Stuarts from power is the fact that when, by infatuation, the fated race was restored, and again played over former pranks, the people had to oust the family in 1688, and thus, by another national verdict, confirm the wisdom and patriotism of the men who had formerly dared to teach a tyrant the rights of free men. Martin was a noble spirit, but his morals were not as correct as those of his political associates. The game now played by the advocates of high church and state notions in England and America is to represent the Republican party as illiterate and narrow-minded. A viler falsehood was never sworn to at the Old Bailey. The leading men of the party who opposed the royal tyrant were scholars, and ripe ones. If any man doubts it, let him read their speeches, peruse their lives, and study their writings. Prynne did not lose his acquirements nor his brains when Charles and Laud cropped his ears, and, loving the sport, came back for a second harvest, and grubbed out the stumps remaining from the first operation. Read his folios, quartos, and octavos, and from one of these men estimate others. If you want to know the real character of Cromwell and his party, as to their knowledge and love of good letters, look at the patronage which the government gave to learning. Owen was Chancellor of Oxford, Milton and Thurlow were secretaries, and their friends were called into public life. Were these men barbarians and enemies to learning? The men who were educated at Oxford and Cambridge at this period were the ornaments of learning and religion for the next 40 years. The day has gone by forever when Cromwell's name can be used as synonymous with fraud, ignorance, and hypocrisy. Kings and prelates may hate him, but a liberty-loving world will enshrine his character in the sanctuary of grateful hearts and faithful memories. After crossing the Severn at the Old Passage, or Aust, where it is 2 miles wide, we took carriage to Bristol. The parish of Aust gave a church living to the immortal Wycliffe, who received the appointment from Edward III. The drive to the city was a rich enjoyment. Every acre is in the highest cultivation, and the charming villas of the merchant princes of Bristol make the 11 miles an entire garden scene. 4 miles from the city we came to Henbury, regarded by the citizens as their finest suburban spot. It is indeed beautiful. There are here about a dozen exquisite cottages, built in 1811 by Mr. Harford, who lives in Blaise Castle. The founder's object was purely benevolent, to provide a comfortable asylum for aged females, who had income enough to support them, if only relieved from house rent. The forms of these cottages are all different, but they were the earliest specimens in our times of the adoption of the old Elizabethan style. They are perfect bijoux, and the taste displayed in their shrubberies is very great. Blaise Castle is a fine building, and surrounded by noble woods. The castle is a circle, flanked with 3 round towers. I ought not to omit that we had on this trip the pleasure of being accompanied by a gentleman from Bristol, whose taste and perfect knowledge of the ground afforded us much gratification. I allude to Mr. Dix, author of Pen and Ink Sketches, which formerly appeared in the Boston Atlas. Mr. Dix was with us at Windsor Castle, and when he heard from Weld French or George Vanderbilt that Robinson's birthday would occur shortly, he noted it, and sent James the following pretty lines, which reached him May 15th in Paris. I think you will be pleased with them. To James A. Robinson: When wandering 'neath old Windsor's towers, we laughed away the sunny hours, you asked me for a simple rhyme, so now accept this birthday chime. No poet I, the gift divine, ne'er was, and never will be mine, but take these couplets which impart the anxious wishes of my heart, in place of more aspiring lay, to greet you on your natal day. Boy of that country of the brave, beyond the Atlantic's western wave, I, dweller in the motherland, a welcome give with heart and hand, and on your birthday breathe a prayer, that you may every blessing share, that your world journey may be blessed with all that may prepare you best, for the approaching eve of age, the end of mortal pilgrimage. Upon your brow of youthful bloom, I would not cast a shade of gloom. Yet did I say that life will ever flow onward like a placid river, with only sunshine on its breast, that ne'er 'twill be by storms distressed? I should but flatter to deceive, and but a web of falsehood weave, yet checkered though life's path may seem, life's pleasures are not all a dream. What shall I wish you? I would fain that earthly greatness you may gain, but if that guerdon is not sent, be with some humble lot content, and let this truth be understood, few can be great, all may be good. Power, pomp, ambition, envy, pride, wrecked barks adown life's stream may glide, ruined by some fierce passion throw, ere reckless o'er time's brink they go. But if fair virtue grasps the helm, nor storm nor wave can overwhelm, that many happy years be yours, seek truth which every good ensures. Press on, though clouds may intervene and for a moment veil the scene. Think of the great ones of your land, and like them strive with heart and hand, to leave a name when you depart which shall be dear to many a heart. Determine in life's early morn all good to prize, all ill to scorn, and aim to live and die as one, worthy the land of Washington. Yours affectionately, J.O.C. End of Letter 53. Read by Sibella Denton. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, please visit LibriVox.org.